This is Prep Test 65, Section 4, number 5. And a judge says, the case before me involves a plaintiff and 3 co-defendants. The plaintiff has applied to the court for an order permitting her to question each defendant without their co-defendants or their co-defendants' legal counsel being present. So plaintiff wants to grill these defendants independently.
Okay.
Without any co-defendant counsel there. 2 of the co-defendants, however, share the same legal counsel. The court will not order any co-defendant to find new legal counsel. Therefore, the order requested by the plaintiff cannot be granted. What are you thinking?
Well, there was a half second there where I was like, this is an interesting problem, because if you're questioning a defendant and that defendant has his or her attorney with them, then you would be questioning them in front of the co-defendant's legal counsel as well. But I also then just realized, as I was thinking through that scenario, and I'm literally imagining the defendant sitting in a chair and the defendant's legal counsel standing next to him. This never said that the defendant's legal counsel had to be there, right? Like, so if you could get rid of the legal counsel, then you could question the defendant by himself or herself and not have a problem.
It's got to be illegal in the real world, right? Like, I just from like TV or whatever, there's no way that the judge is going to allow a defendant to be questioned without their counsel.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say that in the judge's argument. And I think if that principle were true, that you can't ever question a defendant without their counsel, then yeah, how the hell are you going to possibly grant this order? But it didn't say it in the facts. And that's your job, right? Like I got done reading this argument and I was like nodding along, like, yeah. But that's bad. You never want to be that. You don't want to be agreeing. Your job is to disagree. Your job is to think about all the ways that this could possibly fail.
Yeah.
And the one way that I think there's only one way that this could possibly fail is, well, can we question them without their counsel?
Yeah.
That's the question that you've got to ask if you're the lawyer in the room, right? You just got to be contrary. Question says, the conclusion of the judge's argument is most strongly supported if which one of the following principles is assumed to hold? So it's a principle question?
Oh, yeah. Principle. I don't know what to do here.
Khan Academy would call it a principle question, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. No, there's no such thing. It's just a strengthening question.
Right. How do you know that?
Because it's saying basically which one of the following, if true, which one of the following answers, regardless of whether it's a principle or not, if it were true, would most strongly support the judge's conclusion.
Yeah. Principle means thing. It actually just kind of means nothing, right? If you just took out the word, like if you just scratched it out there and it just said the conclusion is most strongly supported if which one of the following is assumed to hold, it doesn't change the meaning at all. No. So people see that principles and they get all twisted up that they think that this is a principle question, and they'll be like struggling with an answer like, well, I don't know if I can pick that because I don't know if it's a principle. And it's like, well, that's not the point.
Then you get some students who are a little more nuanced and they're like, okay, I know it's not a big deal, but principles are more general. They're more general and therefore, okay. Yeah. Well, did that general claim help you or not?
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
It's entirely beside the point. Which one of the following, if assumed, which means if true, is going to help this argument the most?
Yeah.
It's a strengthening question. But it's very similar to what other type of question?
Very similar to a sufficient assumption question.
Thank you. Yeah. And I would always be trying to predict a sufficient assumption here. Same with you?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the golden ticket to a strengthen question.
A sufficient assumption proves the conclusion of the argument correct. You can't strengthen an argument more than proving the conclusion of the argument to be correct. Yeah. So lots of times on a strengthening question, if I can predict a sufficient assumption, I will predict the sufficient assumption before I look at the answer choices, because ideally I go into the answer choices, I find the sufficient assumption that I predicted, and that's just 100% the answer for sure.
Yeah.
So what did we predict again?
We predicted that you needed the legal counsel of the defendant to be present when you question him or her.
Yeah, you can't, if it's true that you can't question them without the counsel, then I just don't see how we can possibly grant this order.
Yeah, because otherwise you would be questioning the defendant in front of their legal counsel as well as one of the co-defendants' counsels, because they share the same legal counsel.
Yep. And then, you know what, Ben? I think it would take me 5 seconds to go through the answer choices here, literally.
Okay, let's do it.
Well, because I mean, I'm looking for, we can't question them without their counsel.
Mm-hmm.
A says a court cannot issue an order that forces legal counsel to disclose I would stop reading it right there. B says, defendants have the right to have their legal counsel present when being questioned. Bang. That's it. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just, we predicted the sufficient assumption. It's there. That's the answer.
Yeah.
It's a strengthening question, but we found a sufficient assumption.
I'd still read the rest really fast.
Sure, of course. But again, really, really fast. People being questioned in legal proceedings may refuse to answer questions, blah, blah. That's not the point. D, a plaintiff in a legal case should never be granted a right that is denied to a defendant. What are you even talking about? Granting the plaintiff a right that the defendant is being denied? How does that even connect? E, a defendant's legal counsel has the right to question the plaintiff.
Okay.
What?
Again, they're trying to like flip it around. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is not what we're talking about. I mean, I wanted, you can't question anybody without their attorney. B says you can't question a defendant without their attorney. And the request was about questioning a defendant. So if B is true, forces the conclusion to be true. And that's easily the answer for this strengthening question.
Yeah.